In this video, we will see how you can merge multiple rows into single rows. Let's understand the requirement first. You have transactions raw data, which is 123 transaction ID, and scenario is a patient goes to hospital visit and patient is charged $120. Then third party is responsible for collecting that amount. So disbursement flag 0 means third party is collecting money from the patient, and then disbursement flag 1 means third party is responsible for sending money to the service provider. So in this case, service provider is ABC Hospital. And there are different status when all these activities are happening. Requirement here is to show data in this form. This is the output report from this single table, which is show data for disbursement flag is equal to 0. Show these two columns, which is payment type and payment status. Payment type and payment status, but show only the latest record, which is whatever happened on the latest date here in the table, which is 10/2. So for 10/2, show ACH payment and drawdown settle. That's what is shown here, right? We'll talk about solution, how you will do this. This is just to understand the requirement. Then disbursement flag is 1, which means third party sending money to the service provider. For that particular flag where value is 1, show payment type and payment status, which is check and payment mail, check and payment mail. And again, show that for the latest date. 10/16 is latest. So show it for 10/16, not for 10/14, right? And show this here. Now, once the requirement is clear, let's see how you can do this in Incorta. Created some sample data in two different tables. This is table 1. This is again table 2, right? Two different tables. And let's see how you will make a join between these tables so that you can get output in this form. All the magic is in join. If you understand join correctly, you will be able to figure out how you can do this in Incorta. So let's go to the schema from which this data is coming. I have this consumer payment schema, and data is coming from this Excel file. Consumer transaction is the table name, and this contains all the consumer payments, right? 5 columns. Payment details is just the payment details, 4 different rows, right? I can also show you Excel file which was used to create this data. It will become more clear. So this is the Excel file here, and consumer transaction is just one record, right? That was the first table, and then payment detail, 4 different records, right? And you have something called payment status ID here, and this is in payment phase, right? So status ID is there and different payment status name, and that's what this payment status ID is, and then provider. So this data has been loaded to Incorta. So 3 different tables if you look at it: consumer transaction, payment details, and payment phases. That's what it is here. Consumer transaction, this is the data. Payment details, this is the data for payment details, right? And then you have payment phase as well. So because the details table only contains ID and it joins to this particular status table, it's like a setup table or lookup table. Now these 3 are the main table here, but then I have created one more alias table. That's how I'll be able to bring 2 different rows into one rows using alias table. So let's see how you will do that. So created an alias of payment details table. Let's look at the diagram here first. Join. Now consumer transaction is a table with one row which just tells you, contains all the IDs, right? And then payment details table contains multiple rows for the same ID. And this is the alias of this payment details table, right? And then payment phases joins to this table to get the status name for the status ID. Let's see how the join has been created. If you look at this, so first I created an alias table, which is this one. To create an alias table, you just click on plus and then click on alias and select the schema name. In this case, I selected consumer payment. Select the table name, which is payment details, and then specify the table name here. I'll cancel it because I've already created the alias, which is this one. This is again schema name and table name and the alias. One advantage with the alias is that it inherits joins as well. So for example, in payment details, I created a formula column to refer to the status name from consumer payment or payment phases, right? So this formula column will bring in the status from the parent table, and it shows up in the alias table itself. It's also, so when you click on this, you will see this formula column showing up in the alias table itself also. And obviously there has to be join between payment detail table and the payment phases table using payment status ID. So this join is here. Now there's one more trick. Once you have this alias created, now you need to create a join between consumer transaction here, this table, and the other two tables. And that's where the whole trick is, the way you merge data, right? So let's go and look at the join for this table and this table as well, these two different joins. Let's study that. Then it will become clear to you. So join is pretty straightforward, joining using transaction ID here. But the trick here is I'm filtering data for this join. So this particular join will filter data for disbursement flag is equal to 0. And since we want to show data for the latest date, so what you do is you group by transaction ID and order by payment date. That's what Lastversion allows you to do. And this way, whatever the latest date is there in the table, that row will be selected. And as well, this filter will be there, right? So that's how once you create this join, add this filter, you get that particular row that you are looking for. Same way, you will see the join with the alias table itself also, which is payment details disbursement. And this is the join details. Exactly similar join, but in this case it is 1 because this is all about provider, right? So disbursement flag has to be 1 and then Lastversion on payment date using transaction ID, right? So think of it as a group by, and then this is order by, and pick up the last particular row in the order by. So this is all. Once you have this in place, all you need to do is now go and start creating a dashboard. So to create a dashboard, this is just showing raw data for the two tables we have. And this is where you will pick and choose from which table you want to show these columns are. So these two columns are from consumer details, and these two columns are from consumer detail disbursement, which is alias table. I can show you here as well. To see the column name, you can just click on this and shows the schema name dot table name dot column name, right? So this is from consumer TXN, but then this will be from payment details dot payment type, and this is from payment detail dot status name, right? Payment status name, this is a formula column there, and this is from payment detail underscore disbursement, right? Remember the alias table that we created. So this is alias table, this is also alias table, payment detail disbursement, and you bring in that data here. And because there's a join and there's a filter, Incorta is able to figure out which particular row to use to select data and show it here. An amount is coming from transaction table, right? Click on cancel here, and this is how you reshape your data using Incorta and show it in the way your business user is requesting you to show data.